Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to part 2 of my Week 17 picks off this slate. I'm going to be diving into the games here for Saturday and then the games tomorrow as well. Then there'll be a separate video for the Monday Night Football game. Before we dive into this week's picks, though, like I said, it's part 2, so let's go ahead and look over what we did in part 1, those Wednesday and Thursday games. Ah, man, could have been a better day, right? 1-4. I think the Grinch came in and stole my money, damn it. 1-4, like I said, man, not what we were looking for. Unfortunately, we do lose just over a unit and a half. But on the season, we still are up over 15 units, so not going to get too upset about that. But looking for a little redemption here in part 2, right? Not trying to have a losing week. We've had a couple profitable weeks in a row now, trying to keep that rolling. So let's go ahead and dive into these picks here for Saturday and Sunday's action. We're going to go ahead and jump over to BetMGM. I got a little parlay together for the first pick, and then we'll dive into Outlier after that. So let's go ahead and jump over to BetMGM and look at this parlay real quick. We're going to be diving right in, looking at this Denver Bronco and Cincinnati Bengals game. Looking at a two-leg parlay, I'm taking the Bengals on the money line. I'm looking at an alternate total, 41.5, looking at the over. Now, we put those two together. That is going to give us plus 110 odds for that same leg parlay. So let's go ahead and jump over to Outlier. We'll go ahead and look into these just a little bit further. First, we'll be looking at the Bengals on the money line. Now, if we look at them, guys, let's go ahead and look at this insight here from Outlier real quick first. The Broncos are 2-8 in their last 10 games as an underdog, which they are here, obviously. So 2-8 overall in their last 10. Let's look at these guys on the season. Now, the Broncos come into this with a 9-6 record. Bengals are 7-8, excuse me. So big game for both of these teams. If the Broncos win, they are in the playoffs. If the Bengals win, they keep their playoff hopes alive for yet another week, right? So a lot of things have to go right for the Bengals to sneak into the playoffs. You need Denver to lose out. You need the Dolphins and the Colts to each lose a game of their two games remaining, and the Bengals have to win out. So not only beat the Broncos, but then go into Pittsburgh and beat Pittsburgh as well, and hope the Broncos lose to the Chiefs backup. So a lot has to go right for the Bengals to find their way into the playoffs, but there's still a chance. So we're going to look at this game with that in our minds, right? Both of these teams are fighting for the playoffs. Broncos are trying to get that seventh seed as well. So a lot on the line here, obviously, between these two teams. And on the season so far, it's obviously been a up and down season for the Bengals. They have now pulled off 3 straight wins at Dallas, at Tennessee, versus Cleveland at home. So not the highest quality of opponents. They have not beaten a high quality opponent yet on the year. This would be, this would be their biggest win if they can pull this one out against this Denver Bronco team and that phenomenal defense that they bring to the table here. Denver, on the other hand, winners of 4 straight before losing to the Chargers last week in Los Angeles. In a potential, they were in a playoff clinching situation there as well. So Denver has had one chance so far and has failed so far. They just got to win one of these last 3 games, like I said, and then they'll be in the playoffs. So if they can pull off this win here against Cincinnati today or against Kansas City next week, they lock up that number 7 seed. They don't need any help from anyone else. Denver truly controls their own destiny. If you look at these guys versus common opponents, they are both 4-5, playing against these same exact teams, right? If we scroll on down, let's look at the stats real quick. The Denver Bronco offense against that horrible Cincinnati Bengals defense. Now, I don't want to hear it, right? There's going to be somebody somewhere who's like, well, the Bengals defense has looked better the last 3 weeks. They played the Browns, the Titans, and the Cowboys. Okay, take it from me, lifelong Bengals fan. This defense is horrible. I don't care what they've done the last 3 weeks, right? If the Bengals sneak into the playoffs and they make any kind of noise, it's because of Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and that phenomenal offense on that side. It ain't got nothing to do with this defense. This Broncos offense, for having a rookie starting quarterback, Bo Nix has looked really, really good. He's played pretty efficiently for a rookie, right? If you scroll on down and look at their turnovers, they're sitting 16th, middle of the pack as far as turnovers. Not bad, man, when you're looking at it from like a standpoint of like, this is a rookie quarterback. You know what I mean? Like, you expect mistakes, you expect them to learn on the fly, right? I think that he's done a really good job of staying clean and being an efficient quarterback in his first season here so far with Denver, in the Sean Payton system, right? I think that it's been a great pairing, it's been a great match, and it's worked out well for them. If you look at them in terms of a yard standpoint, they're not lighting it up, right? 22nd in terms of passing yards, 18th in terms of rushing yards, but you're going up against a Bengals defense that gives up a ton of yards. A ton. 26 to the pass, 21st to the rush. 22nd in terms of yards per play, which Denver is as well on their end, 22nd in terms of yards per play. I think Denver is able to move the ball here a lot more effectively than they've been able to all season, right? I think that this is a game where they come in and they take advantage of this Bengals defense. I do. So I think in that aspect, they're going to be able to keep this one close. If you look up top here, this is the deciding factor for me, right? They're 18th in terms of third down conversions, 26th for the Bengals. This is where it gets scary. 8th in terms of red zone efficiency for Denver, 31st for the Bengals. 10th in terms of scoring, 28th for the Bengals. So definitely think they're going to be able to move the ball, guys, and I think that they'll be able to get some points up. This is where it gets a little more, I guess, scary for Denver, right? As you flip this and look at the defense versus the offense, look, Denver comes in with a badass defense. All right, I just said it, right? This is a great defense. 4th in terms of scoring, 2nd for red zone efficiency, 3rd for third downs, 14th in first downs. They are 18th against the pass, but they boast the best cornerback in the league, right? Patrick Surtain. Very good secondary back there, and they're able to get to the quarterback. That's the scariest part for Cincinnati fans. 1st in sacks, 1st in QB hits, 4th in QB hurries. 6th in terms of tackles for loss. So they're going to be able to get to Joe. That's the scary part. He's going to have to be effective with his legs today. Hopefully that knee holds up, man. He heard it a couple weeks ago. It looked really good last week. So hopefully it's another one of those weeks where we just see Joe throw on that magic cape, scrambles around a little bit, finds his way into the end zone, whether through the air or with his legs, man. He's going to have to use them this week, especially against this defensive line and this pass rush that Denver has. But the thing that doesn't, it scares me, but looking at it from a money line perspective, who's going to win this game? I'm still leading Cincinnati all the way. Because we can flip it over and look at them. They're 6th in terms of scoring, 28 points per game. They're 3rd in red zone efficiency. They're 4th in third down conversions. They are the number 1 passing team in the NFL. Now, obviously, the running game could use some help, but it has looked better in the last few weeks for sure. Chase Brown is really starting to come along. He's almost at 1,000 yards, and he didn't start starting until I think week 7 or week 8. Zach Moss was the starting running back to start out the year. So Chase Brown has really come along over the second half of the season. Definitely been impressed with him. So that 29th rushing yards, I feel like, is definitely inflated from the beginning of the season. They're not nearly that bad, but I'm not over here saying that this is like a running team or anything. They're obviously a pass-first unit. They have been ever since Burrows came in the picture. But end of the day, money line perspective, like I've said a few times now, looking at it from, through that lens, you have two teams battling for the playoffs. Like I said, you have a experienced team on one side that's been in these situations now a handful of times over the last 3-4 years, right? And you got Joe Burrow that's led playoff runs. They are at home. And I expect my Cincinnati fans, my fellow Cincinnati Bengal fans, to come in loud and proud. And we better be behind my team, damn it. We better make some noise and make it difficult for this Denver offense, for this young starting rookie quarterback who has played an efficient and effective season, yes. But he has not played in a big moment, big pressure game like this, right? You already had an opportunity last week and you guys didn't pull through. So now the pressure is that much higher, right? And it's going to keep getting higher, right? If they don't win this week and they got to play Kansas City next week and win or go home, that pressure keeps mounting, right? This is where I think you see that veteran aspect come into play from the Cincinnati side over that Denver side. Denver is a very talented team, but they don't have experience in these big game moments. So that is the deciding factor for me and why I'm leaning with the Bengals on the money line in this one. And then we'll look at the total real quick as well. And that total, it's sitting all the way up at 50.5 right now, right? And if we look at this insight from Outlier, we can see that the over has hit in 8 of the Broncos' last 8 games versus bottom 10 scoring defenses, a 100% hit rate. Now, we could take it at that, yeah, but I like it much better. Let's go ahead and let's throw this thing all the way down to 41.5. And now let's look at how those numbers shift, right? Let's look at them in the last 5 games. Broncos are hitting over this line at a 100% rate. Bengals are hitting over it at a 80% rate. That only game that went under was the game that we took the under last week. The Broncos or the Bengals and the Browns. AFC North division game. These two teams have hit the under in, I can't remember what it was, 6 straight games coming into that, so 7 straight games now. So it makes sense that we hit the under there, right? Bengals have hit it over, the 4 previous times going into that. Let's go push it back to the last 10 and let's see. Yeah, see. what's that? 6 times in a row that they hit that. 7 times in a row they hit this. Coming into that Cleveland game, and the Broncos, man, 8 out of 10 in their last 10 as well. So you can just keep pushing it back and seeing that they're clearing this number pretty easily. So if we expect the Bengals to win, we expect them to win in a high scoring game, a close high scoring game. I think we can expect them to get to 42 points as a whole. That means that we just need kind of both teams to be in that low 20 range, and we're going to clear this number pretty easily. Or one of them to be in high 20s range and the other one in the high teens. Maybe both of these guys get into the high 30s and we're not even sweating this 41.5 whatsoever. That would be pretty ideal, right? So that's where I'm looking at for that one. That first play of the game, like I said, the Bengals on the money line, and then the total over 41.5. That's an alternate total. And I've got that going in on BetMGM personally, plus 110 odds right now. All right, next up, I'm looking at the Packers and Vikings game. That's a 425 kickoff in Minnesota. I'm looking at a alternate total on this one as well. I'm buying up a point to 49.5. It's sitting at 48.5 right now. I'm taking the under on this one, under 49.5. Now, there's a few things here, man. It's sitting at minus 120 by the way, as well for that 49.5, minus 120 over there at Bet365. So, a few things to look at in this one. We'll just jump over to this insight from Outlier right off the rip, and we can see the under is hit in 12 of the Vikings' last 18 games as a favorite. That's a 67% hit rate. Let's look at them in their last 5 games. We can see 80% hit rate to the under for the Packers. And then the Vikings, 60% to the over, right? But if we look at them strictly at home, that flips 60% to the under. Let's look at the last 10. It just gets better, right? 70% to the under for the Vikings. And then for the Packers in all games, 80% to the under. Now, away, they are a little bit more, prone to see that over, but still hitting at a 60% rate to the under as well. This one feels a little risky. Feels a little risky because, in their last 3 matchups now, we have seen them come underneath this line in 2 of the 3 matchups, but the matchup this year that we saw them play, they did clear this line by about what's that, 11.5 points, 10.5 points, finishing at 60. So definitely the potential for some points to go up, right? But here's the thing, and here's my perspective on this, is both of these teams, well, mainly the Vikings, the Packers, I can't say both these teams. The Packers are kind of, no matter what happens, they're kind of set where they're at, right? The Vikings are still playing for that 1 seed, and there's a real chance that they could get it. If they win this game here, then there's that showdown with Detroit next week for that number 1 seed in the NFC. So a real chance that they can get this here. I feel like we see a more playoff intensity type feeling game here, right? I think that we see that kind of energy come into here. I think we see more of a defensive battle. These are 2 very good defenses. Let's go ahead and look at them real quick. 6th in terms of scoring for the Packers and 3rd for the Vikings. They're both very good against the run. 8th for the Packers, 2nd for the Vikings. The Vikings do struggle against the pass, sitting at 30th. But teams can't score on them, so what's it matter? They do get pressure on the quarterback, so they might give up chunks of yards through the air, but they're able to get to the quarterback. They're able to cause a lot of disruption. Vikings defense is not anything to laugh at, right? Neither is this Packers defense. And like I said, this is a divisional matchup. It's the second matchup of the year. I don't have any data pulled up. I didn't really look into this part of what I'm about to say. Just more of a feeling thing, watching football for all these years. It's like these second games of these divisional matchups, they play twice a year. That second matchup always seems to be a lower scoring game than that first matchup. I could be totally wrong, but definitely feels that way. Definitely seems to be the case. Then looking at things, man, this is kind of a big thing for me. This is one of the biggest reasons why I'm looking at this under. Looking at the money and the bets and where everything's going, 70% of the bets is on the over. 91% of the money is on the over. Yet this line isn't really moving, right? It's been at 49.5. For quite some time, and then they dropped it to 48.5 with all this money coming in on the over. So little fishy, right? Little fishy. Sitting at 93% of the money is going to the over at 48.5. That's where the line was sitting. This was on December 22nd. We're now 6 days later, and you can see here, this is the percentage of bets right here on the left. This is the percentage of money right here on the right. It's been hovering in that 90% range since the 22nd, right? And we've only seen it kind of that line, man. It's like jumped from 48.5 to 49.5 and then back down to 48.5 and just kind of hovered between there. So a little fishy, man. You know, all that money coming in on the over, you would think that line would just keep going up. It's not. It's not. So definitely has me looking at the under with all of the other things in consideration as well. My only hesitation and my only thing about, hey, be cautious if you're putting this one in. Maybe you don't go 2, 3, 4, 5 units on this one. Maybe this is just a single unit play. Maybe it's just a half unit play. Be a little cautious because when they did meet earlier in the year, we did see some fireworks, right? We saw a 31-29 game. It was a very good game too. So we could definitely be in store for more of that, or we could be in store for, you know, that typical second divisional game, kind of let down, more of a defensive performance, playoffs on the line, seeding on the line. There's a lot of factors and a lot of things pointing to the under. So we'll just have to see on this one, but I'm definitely rolling with the under personally. All right, next up, I'm jumping over to FanDuel. I'm looking at a 3-leg money line parlay. I got the Rams, the Colts, and got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers all on the money line. All three of those together gives us a plus 105 3-leg parlay. Let's go ahead and jump over to Outlier. We'll dive into these just a little bit further. And first up, looking at the Rams, they're taking on the Cardinals, right? This is going to be an 8 p.m. kickoff tonight on Saturday evening. So looking at the Rams here, the Cardinals are 7-15 as a underdog in their last 22 games. So not a good look there for Arizona whatsoever. Coming off that loss to the Panthers in Carolina, they put up 30 points, gave up 36. Not looking the best, right? 1-4 in their last 5 games. You flip over here to the Rams, they've won 4 straight. What's this? 5, 6 of their last 8, 7, 9. Man, they've won a lot here in the last. Yeah, Rams have won 4 in a row on their side here. What's this? 5 of their last 6. Look, they've looked good, man. After starting the season off a little shaky, they had some injuries there at the beginning of the year to overcome, and since then they have definitely looked good. The defense has stepped up as well, giving up just 15 points in the last 2 weeks alone. 44 or 42 to the Bills. It's the Bills, man. It's a high-powered offense. The week before, 14 again. So definitely looking good on that defensive side of things. Against common opponents, man, the Cardinals sitting at 5-6, while the Rams are 7-4. Rams have been the better team this season, all season long, over this Arizona Cardinal team. I'm going to take them any day of the week. We can look at the stats a little bit here as far as their offense versus that Rams defense. Kind of middle of the pack both ways as far as scoring. 19th as far as red zone efficiency, though, for the Cardinals, whereas the Rams defense is sitting at 5th. So I definitely like that. Let's go ahead and flip it real quick. Just look at the Rams offense versus that Cardinals defense, and kind of more of the same, right? 13th in terms of scoring defense, 16th in terms of scoring for that offense. I'm kind of middle of the pack. There's a lot of things here that are lining up, honestly, but end of the day, man, you got 2 teams trending in 2 different directions, right? You got the Rams looking good and the Cardinals not looking so good, man. Just just straight up, right? And the strength of victories kind of show where these teams, there's that discrepancy. The Rams sitting at 8th, as the Cardinals are sitting at 14th. Um, the Rams still have something to play for too. You know what I mean? They're fighting for that NFC West division. They're sitting at 10. What are they? 9-6 right now, while the Seahawks are 9-7. So the Seahawks are right on their tail. But here's the thing: is that the Rams beat the Seahawks earlier in the year, 26-20. So with a win here, the Rams pretty much wrapped this thing up. So basically some miracles would have to happen for the Seahawks. Even without a win, they still have a better chance of wrapping that division up. But a win here this week pretty much just eliminates the Seahawks. I'd have to dive into it and look at it, but I don't think that there's a path for the Seahawks. There's not a path for either of these teams to make it to the wild card. I don't think that there's a path for the Seahawks to win the division if they lose here. Best case scenario would involve a Rams loss on Saturday and then them beating the Rams in Week 18. If the Rams end up winning, yeah, they would be eliminated. Yeah, I'm just seeing that now. They would be eliminated if the Rams end up winning this one. So, I don't see Arizona being able to come into Los Angeles and hanging with the Rams to begin with, but with that extra motivation of wrapping up the division, and going into next week, able to rest some guys, and get ready for that playoff push. I think that definitely leans the favor into LA just that much more. So that's the first part of the money line parlay. Let's go ahead and jump over, look at this next game, looking at the Colts and the Giants. It's a 1 p.m. kickoff on Sunday. Similar situation, man. The Colts have slim hopes, right? In a similar situation as my Bengals, where they got to win out. They need some help. They need Denver to lose out. I think that's it for the Colts. I'm not sure how they line up with the Dolphins, if they need the Dolphins to lose or not as well. The Dolphins are right there in that mix also for that seventh seed. So not sure how that one works out. But I'm also, guys, I'm not sure why people, when they talk about who's going to get that seventh seed in the AFC, it seems to be like a two-team race in the media. Everybody talking like it's either the Broncos or it's the Bengals. The Colts have like a very, very, very solid chance to get in my opinion. And I don't see why anybody's not talking about that. Like I'm pretty sure, like I said, they just need Denver to lose out, and then they have to win out. And they play the Giants this week, and then I'm pretty sure they play the Jaguars next week. You know what I mean? Like, not the hardest of schedules by any means at all. Colts have had their ups and downs, but look, the Giants are 0-8 in their last 8 games at home. They're horrible. The Giants haven't won a game since what? I mean, we can check in here. They've lost a lot in a row. They have not won a game since they beat the Seahawks in the beginning of October. It's now almost January, so it's been a couple months since they've seen a dub on their side. It's a lot of red up here, right? A whole lot of losses. And it just like it's not like they're progressing in any manner. This offense has been horrible. Besides a 20-point performance against Dallas, 4 of their last 5 games, they've gone underneath that 20-point mark. 2 of those games, they didn't even score in double digits, just 7 points. So, not a good look for the Giants, man. Not a good offense whatsoever. And there's areas where the Colts could take advantage of this defense as well. The Colts are 28th in terms of passing, and the Giants are 7th in terms of defending the pass, right? If we look down at the rushing, they are sitting at 8th in terms of rushing yards per game, while the Giants are second to last in rushing yards allowed. And that's, you got Jonathan Taylor over there at running back, and you got Anthony Richardson that's able to take off with his legs as well. I think that the Colts beat up on the Giants through the ground, man, and they win this one pretty easily. They've looked decent in these last few weeks, besides that loss to the Broncos there. They've had their ups and downs, like I said, man. A 1-point win over the Patriots and 1-point win over the Jets, and that was sandwiching a loss to the Detroit Lions. They were dominating the Titans, and then let the Titans come back into this one and make it a little more interesting. It was like 38-7 at one point, I think, and then they end up winning 38-30. But they're pulling out the wins, right? And that's what matters at the end of the year. It's not how you win, it's if you win. That's really all that matters, and they're getting there. They're getting the job done. And I don't see any reason why they don't get the job done against this New York Giants team that has absolutely no reason to get the job done. They want to not get the job done. They want to lose and get a better, they're trying to get that number 1 draft pick. Let's just be real. They're tanking. And no reason why they shouldn't. They've been a hot mess all season long, so definitely like the Colts here on that second leg of the 3-leg parlay. Let's go ahead and look at the third leg now, looking at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers over the Carolina Panthers. Similar situation, man, where I just don't see how the Panthers stand a chance against this Tampa Bay Buccaneer team, right? I just don't. Now, earlier in the season, it was a close game, 26-23 in favor of the Buccaneers. The Bucs have won 3 straight against these Carolina Panthers. We can see over here from this inside as well. This is the interesting thing, man. The Panthers are 6-24 in their last 30 games as an underdog. Not a good number, right? Not a good look whatsoever. And they're fresh off a win against the Arizona Cardinals as well after a 4-game losing streak. Feels more like a letdown spot for the Panthers, especially considering that the Bucs just gave up a close game to the Cowboys as well, right? So 4 straight wins for the Bucs coming into that loss last week against the Cowboys. I look for them to bounce back, man. I just don't think that this Carolina Panther defense is going to be able to hang with this Tampa Bay Buccaneer offense. This is a very explosive offense. They're 5th in terms of scoring and red zone efficiency. They're 2nd and 3rd down conversions and 3rd and 1st down conversions. 3rd in the pass, 7th in the run, 5th in terms of yards per game. Look, very, very dominant offensive performance on the season going up against a defense that just doesn't, like I said, I don't see how they stand a chance. They're dead last in terms of scoring and 3rd down conversions and 1st down conversions and rushing yards. Dead last, right? They are 10th against the pass. So it's a Bucky Irving day, right? We just lean on the run, man. And Baker, it's not like Baker can't get out of the pocket and run as well. So Yeah, definitely like Tampa Bay here. 6-5 against common opponents, as where the Panthers are sitting at third or 3-8. Almost said 3rd and 8. Third down. Uh, Come on, football mode all the way. Anyways, like I said, Tampa Bay on the money line for that third leg of that parlay gives us a plus 105 parlay there for a three-legger. All right, I got 3 player props I'm going to look at. And just full disclosure, before we jump into those, I did all my research last night, and the odds were so much better for all 3 of these props, right? They're all a little bit juiced now, so it's a little disappointing. I wish I would have got the video made last night and put the bets in myself, because now we're looking at a little bit more juiced odds. Some of the numbers have shifted as well, so just full disclosure on that one. Take it for what you will, right? And as always, to go ahead and check into that link. We always put that link down there in the pinned comment that's going to send you over to Guy Boston Sports, the website. It's going to have our final plays on there. So, not 100% how I roll with any of these plays today, whether I'm going to put them in officially myself as full units, half units, quarter units, or at all. So be sure to check into that before you place any bets yourself. But yeah, looking at Bo Nix here, looking at his passing and rushing yards over 249.5. Now, like I said, all 3 of these player props look a little different than what they looked last night. I had it at 253.5 last night at minus 114 on FanDuel. You can see now it's minus 132 on FanDuel, but we need four less yards, so not too mad at that one. But definitely would have liked to got it at the better odds still. But he's exceeded 255.5 passing and rushing yards in 4 of his last 5 games now. He's hitting in the last 10 at a 70% rate, in the last 5 at an 80% rate, with that one game going under was a blowout against the Colts. Um, we've talked a lot in these videos over the year about how horrible the Cincinnati Bengals defense is. So we don't have to dive too far into that. It hurts my heart every time talking about it, but it's the truth, right? Passing yards allowed, they're sitting at 26, and then rushing yards allowed sitting at 21st. And that number does jump up in terms of quarterbacks. I'm pretty sure they are dead last in terms of rushing yards allowed for quarterbacks. And Bo Nix has, obviously done more through the air than with his legs, but he's getting out and he's running in each of these games. So I guess we have 3 games here where not so much, but definitely looking throughout the course of the season. 36 yards for 75 yards against the Saints, 61 against the Chargers. So kind of a boomer bust with him. 47 against the Bucks, 25 against the Steelers, 35. There's those 3 and 9 and 4. There's a couple of those mixed in throughout there as well, but definitely a lot of games where he is utilizing both his arm and his legs to get the ball moving, right? And like I said, man, it's these numbers right here that really make this a strong play. So I think, I talked about it in the breakdown of my Bengals money line and over pick, that I think we see a lot of points. I think we see a lot of yards on both sides of the ball. I don't think that this is a defensive battle whatsoever, even though the Broncos are coming in with a defensive juggernaut. I think that this Bengal offense is elite enough to kind of like force that pace. Like, nah, this is going to be a shootout, and this is what we're going to do, and we're going to outscore you in this one. So I think that Bo Nix is going to have to match that energy, right? So, and I think that he will. I think Bo has a really good game here. My biggest reason taking the Bengals on the money line is that Bo's inexperienced, and I do think that they force him into some mistakes in those pressure moments at the end of the game. But I don't think that takes away from the fact that he's going to get He's going to get a lot of yards through the air and on the ground today. I just see it happening. So Bo Nix passing and rushing yards over 249.5, minus 132 on FanDuel. And then staying in that game, here's another one. Marvin Mims Jr., the wide receiver for the Broncos, looking at his receiving yards over 27.5. Man, this is the one that I really, really, really wish I would have got earlier, because it was sitting down at 24.5. Now I know it's just a matter of 3 yards, but we all know in the world of sports betting how those 3 yards can mean a huge difference, right? So I still like it over 27.5. I just liked it a hell of a lot more at 24.5, and it was at minus 105 when I found that last night. Kicking myself in the you-know-what for not placing that bet, but 27.5 at minus 115 on BetMGM, not hateful whatsoever. I'll still take it. And the reason being, man, I mean, we look at him on the season, he's only hit this at a 27% rate, right? But you can see the hits have come here in the last 5 weeks. So we've pushed that to the last 5. It's now at 80% hit rate. that he has hit over this line, right? And cleared it pretty handily. 49, 44, 105 against the Browns. Only 20 against the Colts, but that was that blowout game where they just, did not need a lot of offense. 62 against the Chargers. Now, the Bengals, 24th in terms of receiving yards allowed. It does jump up to 13th in terms of wide receivers, and I'm not sure how watching these games, man, because I see it quite frequently. It's happened quite frequently throughout the year where they give up those explosive plays through the air multiple times a game. So that's why I'm looking at this one here mainly. He's got speed, man. This dude is fast. He's fast. So that's what scares me going up against this Bengals secondary. They struggle against these speedy guys, man. You've seen Zay Flowers tear him up before with the Ravens. I just see more of the same here with Mims. And we look at his usage throughout the season, right? He wasn't getting the yards earlier in the year. He wasn't getting the targets either. The targets have gone up. And as those targets have gone up, so has the production. So definitely see him having a day against this Bengals secondary. If I only need him to get over 28 or get over 27 and a half, get me 28 receiving yards, I feel like we clear that pretty easily because that's like what? He could get that in one catch against this Bengals defense, right? With that speed that he possesses. But honestly, really like 2-3 catches max. I don't see how he doesn't get over that. And with the targets that he's been getting, I think that we can get at least 2 receptions from him. He's gotten at least 3 in the last 4 games, at least 2 in the last 6. So, like I said, man, 2 receptions should get us over that 27 and a half mark going against the Bengals defense. Just being honest, he's a speedy guy, so definitely can see him breaking away and getting some yards. He could get that all in one catch. So definitely like this one. Liked it a lot more at 24 and a half. I'm going to keep saying it, but I'm going to take it here at 27 and a half as well because scared money don't make money. All right, and looking at one more prop, Brandin Cooks, his receptions under 3.5, wide receiver for the Dallas Cowboys. That's a 1 p.m. kickoff, Dallas and the Philadelphia Eagles. I do want to just jump off real quick and say that I am definitely leaning towards Dallas. I'm definitely leaning towards Dallas, man. The only reason that it's not in this as a play, and we didn't talk about it in depth, is because your boy's a little nervous, man. There's a lot of games like this week where, like, I really, really, really want to pull the trigger, but I'm scared, and I know I just said scared money don't make money, but I'm just going to go ahead and be scared on a few of these guys because it just feels like they could go either way, man. But Dallas with 7.5 points, I think it's at right now. The money line is sitting at like plus 300. It's so tempting because these Cowboys and these Eagles, man, they split these games so often. It's happened so many times throughout the years. Like one team is more dominant than the other almost every damn year, but they still split. These games are always good. It's a division rivalry, one of the biggest rivalries in football, and that plays into it. So definitely leaning Dallas. I might throw it in the play. So like I said before, man, go ahead and check into the picks down below in that pinned comment. Make sure you jump over there to see if I end up throwing this in myself. We got some time between now and Sunday at 1, so it definitely could happen. But let's go ahead and get back on track. Looking at Brandin Cooks, his receptions under 3.5. It's at minus 140, y'all. It was at minus 115 last night. Like that jump in odds is just so frustrating. But honestly, it's one of those things where it's like it's frustrating, but it shows you that you're seeing things the way that Vegas is seeing it. So that's take it for what it is, I guess, right? But anyways, looking at him in his last 10, he's hit 7 times in a row to this under. Look at this outlier or this insight from Outlier. He's failed to exceed exactly what I just said. He's failed to exceed 3.5 receptions in 7 straight games now. My bad, guys. I thought that said something else. Got mixed up there. Anyways, looking at the head-to-head as well, he's come underneath that mark in the last 2 times playing against the Philadelphia Eagles, and then on the season sitting at an 88% rate. Only played 8 games so far this year, so yeah, 7 games in a row this year, 88% rate on the season. Yeah, so the Eagles are sitting at 9th in terms of receptions allowed. Against wide receivers, it only jumps up to 12th, so not what we like to see, not going in that direction, but it's not like it's like some crazy high number where we have to be concerned. We know what this Philadelphia Eagles defense is capable of. The only reason I'm looking at Dallas and leaning that direction as a whole for the game is with Jalen Hurts being out, man. You know what I mean? That gives a little bit of a I don't have faith in Kenny Pickett. That's where it all boils down to. I do have faith in this Philadelphia defense, and I think that they play a solid game still. I think they make things hard on Cooper Rush. We scroll on down, and we can see CeeDee Lamb is now out for the season, right? Jake Ferguson, Colbert, we got Turpin down here. We got Cooks is all the way down here in terms of targets. Now, we could see that this is one that we got to be a little cautious with looking at, right? I would double check before placing this bet tomorrow to make sure that Turpin and Tolbert are playing because they're both on the injury report as well. If they're not in, all of a sudden Cooks becomes that number one receiver. So 3.5 receptions, getting under that mark, then it becomes a little more difficult. And at minus 140, not even worth it, right? Not even worth it. But if those two are playing, I still like this one here. Guys, that's going to wrap it up here for week 17. I hope we have a good, solid Saturday and Sunday, and we can finish with some green checks on the board when we do the recap, man. Definitely disappointing to have a 1-4 day for the part one of this video. So let's have a better part two. Like I said, seeking a little bit of redemption here. And that's it, man. Hope you guys had a good time. Hope you enjoyed the content, found it helpful and useful. And if you did, please do not forget to smash that like button down below and hit subscribe if you have not already. That way you don't miss out on a thing that we're doing over here at the Guy Boston Sports Channel. Stay tuned. I got the Monday Night Football video coming your guys' way. It'll drop tomorrow afternoon as well. That's going to do it, man. Have a good one, guys.